You wake up and you've already lost. You waste 15 minutes deciding what to wear among clothes you don't really like. You open your phone and see 30 notifications from apps you don't remember why you installed. You look at your work desk covered with objects you don't use, at the bookshelf full of books you'll never read, at the closet overflowing with things that drain your energy just by existing. You're not living with abundance, you're drowning in excess. And each object you own is stealing pieces of your attention, your mental clarity, your freedom. While you waste half an hour every morning managing 100 useless decisions, Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest swordsman in history, would wake up, put on one of 2 identical outfits, grab one of 2 perfectly maintained swords, and in 5 minutes was mentally prepared to duel for his life. He won 60 mortal combats without losing a single one, because he understood something you haven't learned yet. Each extra thing you carry isn't wealth. It's dead weight that slows you down when you most need speed. Musashi died at 62 owning exactly 7 objects, and those 7 objects were more powerful than the 1,000 possessions of the nobles around him. The secret wasn't in what he had, it was in everything he eliminated. In the next few minutes, you'll discover the 10 minimalist principles that transformed common warriors into lethal masters, and how to apply each one today to recover the attention, energy, and freedom your possessions are silently stealing from you. These aren't organization tips, they're war protocols. Let's start now. Principle 1. Own only the essential. Own only the essential. Essential isn't things I use regularly or things I like. Essential is answering brutally honest, if I lose this tomorrow permanently, does any vital function of my life become impossible? Not difficult, not inconvenient, impossible. Musashi had 2 swords because without them he couldn't fight, 3 brushes because without them he couldn't create art that centered his mind, 1 roll of paper because without it he couldn't record strategy. Everything beyond that was weight that made him slower without adding power. Apply this now. Take your closet. How many pieces do you really need to live and work with dignity? Probably 20 to 30 pieces maximum. The other 70 are creating unnecessary decisions every morning and occupying mental space. Your drawer of cables and electronics, you use maybe 5 of them. The other 30 are there, in case you need them someday. That never comes. Essentiality test. If it's not impossible to function without, it's not essential and it needs to go. Principle 2. 1 sharp sword versus 1,000 dull. 1 perfectly sharpened sword beats 1,000 dull swords. Mediocre samurai collected arsenal of weapons. Thought having option for each situation was advantage. Master Samurai had 1 or 2 swords he knew so deeply they were extension of his own body. He knew the exact weight, balance point, how it behaved wet or dry, cold or hot. In duel, who won wasn't who had more tools. It was who had perfect tool and absolute mastery. You're doing the opposite. You have 10 productivity methods you don't master any, 15 organization apps you don't use consistently, 20 books on same subject you read superficially. Result: fragmented knowledge, 0 mastery, paralysis by excessive options. Starting today, you choose 1 tool in each essential life category and commit to completely master. 1 note system, 1 training method, 1 deep work approach. Master completely before considering alternative, immediate implementation of principles 1 and 2. Tonight, choose 1 category of your life. Clothes, books, work tools, hobby equipment. Take absolutely everything from that category, put it visible in front of you. Now apply brutal essentiality test to each item. Does my life become impossible without this? If answer is no, goes to elimination pile. Then, in the pile that remains, identify duplicates and inferior versions. Have 3 kitchen knives. Keep the best. Eliminate the other 2. Have 5 notebooks started. Consolidate everything into 1. Discard the rest. Have 2 backpacks. Choose the most functional, donate the other. Goal for tonight: reduce one category by at least 50%, applying only these first two principles. Tomorrow, you'll wake up with fewer things but more power, because each eliminated decision is recovered mental energy. Next two principles show how to use what remains. Principle 3, multiple purposes. Each object must serve multiple purposes or doesn't deserve to exist. Traveling samurai carried only what justified its own weight by serving 3, 4, 5 different functions. Knife wasn't just weapon, it was cooking tool, repair instrument, close defense. Rope wasn't just for tying, served for climbing, creating traps, immobilizing opponent, making emergency tourniquet. Each cubic centimeter of backpack was occupied by something multifunctional. Zero space for single-use objects unless absolutely vital. Look now at your kitchen. You have electric appliance that only makes rice, machine that only makes waffles, gadget that only cuts eggs. Each of these occupies space, needs to be stored, cleaned, maintained, and does one thing that normal pot or simple knife does equally well. Rule from now on: before buying or keeping any object, list at least 3 different uses it serves. If you can't list 3, don't buy or eliminate. Pressure cooker: cooks rice, beans, meat, vegetables, makes broth. Keep. Electric toaster: only toasts bread. Normal oven does that and 50 other things. Eliminate. Principle 4, eliminate before organizing. Eliminate before organizing. Biggest mistake you make trying to fix your life is starting by organizing. You buy organizing boxes, labels, shelves, storage systems, spend weekend categorizing and arranging everything beautifully. 3 months later, everything's messy again because you didn't solve the real problem, you just arranged the junk. Organizing excess is still excess, just with pretty labels. Samurai didn't organize unnecessary equipment, he simply didn't take it. Before 1 single second thinking about how to organize better, you need to cut 60% to 70% of total volume. Only when quantity is reduced to point where organization becomes trivial, then you organize. And you'll discover something magical. When you have right volume of things, organization happens almost automatically because there's enough space and each object is important enough to have obvious place. Shelf with 10 essential books never gets messy. Shelf with 100 books you don't read is always in chaos. Immediate implementation of principles 3 and 4. Tomorrow morning, attack your kitchen with principle 3. Open each cabinet and apply multiple purposes. Test. Take each utensil, each appliance, each gadget and ask out loud, how many different things does this do? If answer is one thing only, and it's not absolutely essential like chef's knife, goes to donation box. Rice cooker, sandwich maker, juicer you use once a year, specific shape molds. Everything goes. Only keep what serves at least 3 purposes or is irreplaceable essential tool. Then take the objects that remain and don't try to organize yet. Literally leave on tables, on floor, out of place. Tomorrow you'll attack another category. Only when you finish all categories applying brutal elimination, then you organize everything at once. Result: you'll have 40% of original volume and organization will take 15 minutes instead of entire day. Next 2 principles are psychologically hardest but most liberating. Principle 5, detachment as spiritual training. Detachment is muscle that's trained, not virtue you're born with. Samurai practiced detachment purposefully because they understood that attachment to objects made warrior vulnerable. If you need specific sword to fight well, enemy can weaken you by stealing or breaking that sword. If you're emotionally tied to equipment, you hesitate in situations where you need to abandon everything and run. Musashi trained detachment brutally, mastered one sword for months, then donated it and took another completely different one, forcing adaptation. Got comfortable in temple, then moved to hostile forest, sleeping on ground. Detachment wasn't about having nothing. It was about not needing anything specific to maintain capacity. You're complete opposite. You have objects stored for years because they have sentimental value, clothes you don't wear because I got it from someone special, obsolete equipment because I spent a lot of money. Each of these attachments is invisible prison. Starting today, you'll train detachment actively as spiritual exercise. Principle 6, 90-day rule. 90-day rule without exception. If you haven't used something in last 90 days, you don't own it anymore. You're just storing junk for hypothetical future that never comes. 90 days is more than enough time for any truly essential object to appear in your routine at least once. Clothes you haven't worn in 90 days, clearly don't need. Book you haven't opened in 90 days, won't read it, you're fooling yourself. Tool you haven't used in 90 days, your work functions perfectly without it. Hobby equipment sitting 90 days, you abandon that hobby, accept it and release. The rule is brutal but absolutely effective. Very rare exceptions. Safety equipment with specific use date, like fire extinguisher, legal documents, seasonal tools in places with extreme seasons. Everything beyond that obeys 90-day rule without negotiation. Doesn't count, but I use once a year on special occasion. If it's once a year, you rent, borrow, or live without. Immediate implementation of principles 5 and 6. Today, you'll start detachment training with progressive exercise. First, easy level. Take 5 small objects you like but haven't used in 90 days. Can be nice, pen, decoration, gadget, anything. Put in box and donate today, now, without thinking much. It will hurt. There will be voice saying, what if I need it? You donate anyway. This is training. It's normal to hurt at first. Second, medium level. Tomorrow you take larger object with monetary value, expensive unread book, equipment that cost money, brand name clothing, same thing. Box, donation, today. Third, difficult level. Next week you eliminate object with sentimental value, gift from someone you don't use, travel souvenir that only collects dust, inheritance you keep out of guilt, photograph if you want, but discard physical object. Each time you let go of something, you're breaking chain of attachment and getting lighter. In next 30 days, apply 90-day rule to absolutely everything you own. Goal, eliminate minimum 50% of total. Next principle transforms how you choose what to keep. Principle 7, absolute quality over infinite quantity. Investing in one piece of exceptional quality always beats owning 10 mediocre pieces. Samurai spent fortune on sword forged by master because he trusted his life to it. Exceptional sword properly maintained lasted generations, performed perfectly in any condition, and never failed in critical moment. 10 cheap swords rusted, broke, lost edge, and none was completely mastered because attention was divided. The math was brutal. Better to have one perfect tool for 20 years than 20 poor tools needing constant replacement. Musashi didn't buy decoration, didn't buy status, bought function at highest possible level. You're doing opposite, buying cheap versions of everything thinking you're saving, but actually bleeding money on infinite replacements. 10 $5 t-shirts that deform and tear in 6 months cost $50 and constant frustration. One $50 t-shirt of exceptional quality lasts 5 years, maintains shape, looks better with time, which is real investment. Implementation of quality over quantity requires complete mental inversion. You stop asking, how many can I buy? And start asking, what's the best that exists? In each essential life category, you identify highest quality item you can reasonably acquire, invest in it once, and stop buying in that category for years. Concrete examples, kitchen knife. Instead of set of 10 mediocre knives, you buy one professional chef's knife from respected Japanese or German brand. Costs 10 times more, lasts 100 times more, cuts infinitely better. Shoes. One quality pair that lasts 10 years with proper maintenance versus 5 cheap pairs that last 2 years each and destroy your feet. Backpack. One military or professional outdoor quality that withstands decade of abuse versus 3 generic backpacks that tear each year. Pots. Small set of professional stainless steel or cast iron pots that pass to your grandchildren versus replacing cheap coated pots every 2 years. Immediate implementation of Principle 7. Identify now the 3 categories of objects you use daily that most impact your life. Can be clothing, work tool, training equipment, kitchen utensil, anything you touch every day. In these 3 categories, you'll upgrade quality in next 30 days. Not everything at once. 1 category per week. Week 1. Research what's considered best item in that category by professionals who use it for living. Not amateur opinion. Opinion from who depends on it working perfectly. Week 2, save what's necessary and buy that exceptional quality item. It will hurt to pay 10 times more, do it anyway. Week 3, eliminate all inferior versions you had. Keep only exceptional version. Result in 30 days. 3 life areas where you have perfect tool you'll never need to replace again. Next 3 principles are about how to use and maintain what you decided to keep. Principle 8, care for it as extension of body. Each object you keep must be cared for with same reverence you care for your own body. Samurai didn't treat sword well from superstition or empty ritual. Treated because poorly maintained tool is tool that kills the owner. After each training, each duel, each exposure to rain, sword was completely cleaned, oil applied to prevent rust, edge checked for microscopic damage, handle tested for wear. This maintenance ritual wasn't optional. It was as vital as eating or sleeping. Musashi spent more time keeping sword perfect than using it in combat, and this guaranteed that in 30 seconds of mortal duel, blade didn't fail. For him, sword wasn't separate object stored in sheath. It was literal extension of right arm. You don't leave arm dirty, injured, or weakening. You care because it's part of you. Same mentality for everything he owned. You do complete opposite. Treat everything as disposable. Use until it breaks. Ignore signs of wear. And replace when it fails catastrophically. Your culture of infinite replacement is costing you fortunes and creating dependency. Something breaks. Buy new instead of repair. Something needs maintenance. Ignore until it stops completely, then replace. Kitchen knife that's never sharpened goes dull in 6 months, but if sharpened weekly lasts 20 years. Clothes not repaired when small tear appears eventually disintegrate, but 3-minute sewing adds years of life. Electronic equipment that doesn't receive cleaning and basic care fails prematurely, but simple maintenance triples life expectancy. Car that doesn't receive preventive maintenance breaks catastrophically, costing thousands, but following basic schedule avoids 95% of expensive failures. You're not saving time or money ignoring maintenance. You're creating massive future costs and becoming permanently dependent on replacing instead of mastering. Samurai who didn't know how to maintain own sword was dead samurai. Person who doesn't know how to maintain essential tools is person slave to perpetual consumption. Immediate implementation of Principle 8. Tonight, create 5-minute daily maintenance ritual. Before sleeping, everything you use today returns to perfect state. Knife you cooked with, wash, dry completely, store correctly. Clothes you wore, check for damage. Small tear you sew right now. Stain you treat before washing. Training equipment, clean sweat, check wear, adjust what needs adjustment. Work tools, close programs correctly, organize days files, clean keyboard and screen. 5 minutes every day prevents hours of repair or hundreds of dollars in replacement. Additionally, learn 3 basic maintenance skills this month. How to sharpen knife correctly, how to sew tiers and attach buttons, how to do basic maintenance on most important equipment you own. YouTube has tutorial for everything. Samurai learned sword maintenance as essential part of training. You do same with your essential tools. Next principle changes how you choose objects from the beginning. Principle 9, aesthetic simplicity, functional depth. Function always comes first. Aesthetics only matters after function is perfect. Samurai equipment was visually minimalist to extreme. Sword without elaborate decoration. Simple black handle. Guard without engravings. But each element of this simplicity hid brutal functional optimization. Handle was exactly the size and texture that allowed perfect grip, even with hands wet with blood. Guard was positioned precisely to protect fingers without adding unnecessary weight. Sheath was designed for draw in fraction of second. Everything looked simple. Everything was deeply functional. Musashi rejected swords decorated with gold and precious stones, not because he despised beauty, but because each gram of decoration was gram that didn't contribute to cutting better. Aesthetics that don't serve function is dead weight. You live in opposite world. Visual complexity without functional substance, objects chosen to impress, not to serve, decoration that only creates cleaning work, beautiful design that sacrifices ergonomics. Your house is full of visual theater, beautiful but uncomfortable furniture, gadgets with impressive lights and buttons but doing basic work terribly, decoration that occupies space and attention without adding real value to life. Clothes chosen for trend that are uncomfortable and last 3 months. Work equipment chosen for professional appearance but that freeze, fail, frustrate. Compare honestly, elaborate, expensive, beautiful office desk but wrong height causing back pain versus visually simple desk, almost industrial but perfect height and adequate surface. Which serves you better over next 1,000 work days? Award-winning design chair that looks incredible but destroys your posture versus ugly ergonomic chair but so comfortable you forget you're sitting. You're paying for aesthetics and receiving dysfunction. Complete inversion of samurai philosophy. Immediate implementation of Principle 9, starting today. Completely invert your priority order when choosing any object. Function is criterion number 1, 2, and 3. Aesthetics only enters consideration after function is provably perfect. When buying or keeping anything, you ask in this order: does this execute intended function better than any alternative? If answer isn't absolute yes, reject regardless of how beautiful it is. Only after confirming superior function you ask, is the aesthetic acceptable? Doesn't need to be gorgeous, needs to be acceptable. Practical example, you need backpack. Criterion 1, carries everything you need comfortably and distributes weight perfectly. Criterion 2, materials last decade of heavy use. Criterion 3, efficient internal organization. Only after finding backpack that meets these 3 perfectly, you consider color and style. Result, in 6 months everything you own functions impeccably, and you discover truly functional objects have their own beauty that comes from clear purpose. Next principle is most liberating of all. Principle 10, minimalism is liberation, not deprivation. Minimalism isn't about having fewer things, it's about recovering the freedom your possessions stole. Biggest misunderstanding about samurai minimalist life is thinking it was forced sacrifice, denial of pleasure, miserable existence with less. Completely wrong. Musashi owned 7 objects not because he was punishing himself, but because each eliminated object was broken chain. Each discarded possession was conquered freedom. When you own 100 objects, you're owner of 100 things, but also servant of 100 responsibilities. Each needs to be stored, protected, maintained, remembered, managed, decided about. This isn't wealth, it's voluntary slavery. When Warrior reduced possessions to absolute essential, he wasn't losing 90 objects, he was gaining 90 freedoms. Freedom from not worrying, freedom to move quickly when opportunity arose, Freedom to focus 100% of attention on mastering art that mattered. Minimum physical weight meant maximum speed. Minimum mental load meant maximum clarity. You feel the weight of possessions every day but don't recognize the source. You wake up and feel tired before starting because subconsciously you're already processing 100 micro decisions about objects. Look at Full House and feel you should be grateful, so you suppress suffocation feeling. See Packed Closet and feel you should be happy to have options, so you ignore paralyzing choice anxiety. Look at Garage full of equipment and feel guilt for not using, so you carry constant emotional weight. All this weight is real. It's not ingratitude, it's not psychological weakness. It's natural and healthy response to overload. Each object you own is making constant micro demands on your subconscious attention, and attention is most valuable resource that exists, more precious than money, rarer than time. When 70% of your attention is imprisoned managing objects without importance, only 30% is free to create, to love, to grow, to master. Minimalism isn't giving up anything valuable. It's recovering attention being wasted. Immediate implementation of Principle 10. Do this experiment this week to prove liberation to yourself. Choose one room in house, can be bedroom, office, kitchen. Remove 70% of everything in that room. Don't organize differently. Don't arrange better. Literally remove and store elsewhere temporarily. Live entire week using only the 30% that remained. At end of week, answer honestly. Did you miss anything from the 70% removed? Did your life get worse, or did you feel you breathed better? Bet you'll discover not only didn't you miss anything, but that room became your favorite space in-house, because finally there's visual and mental clarity. This is visceral proof that less isn't deprivation when less is exactly the essential. Musashi died with 7 objects and 0 regrets, having lived more intensely than emperors surrounded by 1,000 possessions. You just learned the 10 principles. Now you need to understand the historical context that created them. Why samurai were extreme minimalists. Historical context. Samurai weren't minimalists for beautiful Zen philosophy or aesthetic choice. They were minimalists because excess literally killed. In feudal Japan, warrior lived in state of constant potential combat. You could be sleeping peacefully and wake up with castle being invaded, needing to fight immediately. Could be traveling and be ambushed, needing to run for kilometers carrying everything you owned. Could be in battle that turns against you, forcing quick retreat through hostile terrain. In any of these situations, each extra kilo of equipment was difference between escaping alive or dying exhausted. Warrior carrying heavy decorated armor, multiple weapons, sentimental objects, comfort equipment was dead warrior in first tactical retreat. Musashi observed this repeatedly. Samurai with elaborate equipment died not because they were less skilled, but because they were slower. Extra physical weight means faster fatigue, reduced mobility, compromised reaction time. Minimalism was survival strategy, not fashion. Beyond physical survival, there was equally critical mental component. In sword duel, where everything is decided in 3 seconds, warrior with clear mind beat warrior with divided mind. If you own many things, you have many worries. Did I leave reserve sword in safe place? Is my decorated armor protected? Are my valuable objects hidden? All these worries occupy mental space that should be focused on reading opponent's movement, anticipating attack, executing perfect counterattack. Musashi wrote in Book of 5 Rings that warrior must enter combat with nothing in mind except present moment. Impossible to do this if you're mentally carrying inventory of 50 possessions. Samurai eliminated possessions not just to carry less physically, but to think less and fight better. Each eliminated object was eliminated worry, each discarded possession was conquered mental clarity. Direct application in your life. You're not in mortal duels, but you're in equally real war for your attention, your time, your mental energy. Each unnecessary object you own is making you mentally slower, the same way extra equipment made samurai physically slower. When you need to make important decisions, do creative work, solve complex problem, you need total mental clarity. But if half your subconscious attention is tracking and managing 100 possessions, you're entering mental battle with compromised capacity. Person with full house versus person with only essential is like samurai carrying 30 kilos of equipment versus samurai carrying 10. In first minutes seems to make no difference, but after hours of mental combat, person with less load is still sharp, while overloaded, person is exhausted. Next topic explains philosophical concepts sustaining all this. Ma and Mottainai, the concepts that sustain everything. Ma is Japanese concept without perfect Portuguese translation, but can be understood as intentional empty space that gives power to what exists. In Japanese architecture, Ma is empty space between objects that allows each object to be seen and appreciated. In music, Ma is silence between notes that makes melody possible. In combat, Ma is distance and timing between you and opponent that determines victory. West sees emptiness as problem, as wasted opportunity, as lack of something. Japan saw emptiness as essential element that gives meaning and power to what's present. Musashi applied Ma in everything. Empty space between movements allowed fluid transition. Pause before attack created perfect timing. Right distance created tactical advantage. Your life has no Ma, it's completely filled to suffocation. Schedule without breathing room, house without empty space, mind without silence. Result, you don't process anything deeply because there's no space between things. Ma isn't doing less, it's creating intentional space that amplifies power of what you do. Mottainai is word expressing deep regret for waste, feeling that something valuable isn't being used to full potential. Goes far beyond not throwing food away. When samurai let sword rust, Mottainai. When had skill but didn't train to perfection, Mottainai. When had time but wasted on trivialities, Mottainai. Concept demands you extract maximum value from everything you own or discard to someone who will. Musashi felt Mottainai when he saw warriors with magnificent swords stored as decoration. Sword that doesn't cut, that doesn't fulfill purpose for which it was forged, is insult to blacksmith and steel. You're committing massive Mottainai, unread books, unfinished courses, equipment becoming coat hanger, atrophying skills. Each represents potential imprisoned in useless form. If you don't use something at 80% of its potential, you have two options. Fully commit to using or release to someone who will. Implementation of Ma and Mottainai in next 7 days. For Ma, create intentional empty space in 3 areas. Physical, remove half the objects from visible shelf. Leave 50% empty space. What remains can now be seen and appreciated. Temporal, put 15 minutes of absolutely nothing between your 2 most important commitments of day. No phone, no input, just existing. Mental, 5 daily minutes of total silence. No music, no podcast, nothing. For Mottainai, list everything you own, but don't use to full potential. For each item, decide today. Either you schedule specific use this week and execute, or eliminate immediately. Book sitting, either you block Saturday to read, or donate Friday. Equipment sitting, either you schedule training this week, or sell tomorrow. 0 middle ground, 0 I'll use eventually. Now the complete implementation protocol, 30-day protocol to implement the 10 principles. You have the 10 principles. But knowledge without execution is entertainment. Musashi didn't theorize, he lived through disciplined daily practice. In next 30 days, you'll transform these principles into reality through structured protocol in 3 10-day phases. Phase 1 eliminates brutally. Phase 2 organizes and upgrades quality. Phase 3 installs permanent maintenance. Don't try to do everything together. Don't skip phases. Don't accelerate. Real transformation takes time because you're changing decades of patterns. Days 1 to 3. Clothes. Take everything from closet. Apply 90-day test and essentiality. Goal, keep only 30-40 total pieces. Days 4 to 5. Books and media. Unread for 3 months goes unless you schedule specific reading this weekend. Days 6 to 7. Kitchen. Eliminate single-function appliances, duplicate pots, utensils you never use. Days 8 to 9. Technology. Every cable without corresponding device out. Every gadget sitting 90 days goes. Day 10. Decoration and sentimental. Hardest but necessary. Photograph and discard or keep only 3 most significant objects. Days 11-20. Organization and quality phase. Volume is reduced. Now organize with intentional ma. Each category has unique place with 30% visible empty space. Clothes, capsule system where everything matches. Kitchen, each tool has obvious place, accessible in 3 seconds. Office, only active tools on desk. During these 10 days, identify 3 most important categories of your life and invest in 1 exceptional quality item in each. Week 1, research best item professionals use. Week 2, save and buy that highest quality item. Week 3, eliminate all inferior versions. Keep only exceptional. You'll have 3 areas with perfect tools you'll never need to replace. Days 21-30, permanent maintenance phase. Install 5-minute ritual every night. Everything returns to designated place. Days clothes checked for damage. Days tools cleaned. 0 entry rule for each new object that enters. 2 leave. Review weekly. Didn't use this week. Observation list. 4 weeks without using. Automatic elimination. Implementation starts now, not Monday. Finish watching this video, get up, go to nearest closet or drawer and apply 90-day rule to 10 items. Takes 5 minutes, put in bag and leave at door to donate tomorrow. This breaks inertia and proves you can. After that, follow 30-day protocol religiously. On day 31, you'll have physically lighter life, mentally clearer, spiritually freer, won't have Instagram-worthy empty house, will have life sharp as samurai blade, but requires samurai discipline, daily execution without exception, without negotiation, without "I'll do it later." Musashi trained sword every day for decades to win 60 duels. You'll train minimalism every day for 30 days to win war against overload. Difference is, his war lasted seconds, your war is for lifetime. But after these 30 days, you have the weapons. You just received the 10 principles that transformed common warriors into lethal masters. Principle 1-2, own only essential. 1 sharp sword beats 1,000 dull. Principle 3-4, multiple purposes, eliminate before organizing. Principle 5-6, detachment as spiritual training, 90-day rule without exception. Principle 7, absolute quality over infinite quantity. Principle 8, care as extension of body. Principle 9, aesthetic simplicity, functional depth. Principle 10, minimalism is liberation, not deprivation, plus concepts of ma, empty space as power, and Mottainai, crime of wasting potential. You have the complete map. Now the only question is, will you use it or let this become another unimplemented knowledge collecting mental dust? Difference between you 30 days from now and you today won't be quantity of things you own. It will be quality of attention you recovered. Musashi was lethal in duel, not because he had more, but because he had less weight, less distraction, less worry. Result, more speed, more clarity, more lethality. You're in different war, but equally real. War for your attention, your time, your mental energy. Each unnecessary object is ammunition you gave the enemy. Each purposeless possession is self-inflicted sabotage. Musashi died with 7 objects and legacy lasting centuries. How many people die surrounded by 1,000 possessions and are forgotten in weeks? Life value isn't measured by what you accumulated, but by what you created and who you became. And to create at maximum potential, you need to eliminate everything that doesn't serve that creation. Challenge now is direct. Finish watching, get up, take 10 objects you haven't used in 90.